Welcome back, beautiful ladies. I'm so excited today to talk about our new spiritual discipline, simplicity. And looking at this one is definitely one that has challenged me, but I'm here with two women who you may recognize depending at what location you're at, two of my most favorite people, but I want them to introduce themselves. So tell us who you are.
My name is Luisa Mayer, and I am the women's coordinator at the Land O'Lakes campus. Woohoo, Land O'Lakes ladies.
Shout out to Lando. And who are you?
I'm Denise Fenske from the Temple Terrace campus. Come on, girls. I hear you all the way over there.
I love our women's coordinators. So shout out to all of our women's coordinators tonight. We love you, and we love all of our ladies joining us at our campuses, in the neighborhood, online. We're just so grateful to have you. So we're going to talk about simplicity. And this is probably one that challenged me the most. So first, I want to kind of define what simplicity looks like and where you feel like you're living a simple life today.
Well, for me, simplicity is just keeping my focus on God, wherever He's leading me, with my family, with my ministry. I can take control of that on my own, even though it might be God's desire, but I need to make sure that I'm always focused on Him. So being obedient to Christ in whatever I'm doing at all times and not let myself take control.
That's so good. What about you, Miss Denise?
So I'm hopefully surrendered when it comes to this. That's just what I'm going to say for now.
Well, I think simplicity, it moves and it changes over the years, right? Like your journey has definitely changed. Is there anything over your walk that you have had to surrender in your life?
How about everything?
Oh, that's a good answer.
I think that has been the most impactful piece of my life lately, where it's not simple and life keeps coming to the point of overwhelm. And so I really feel like God has been helping me. See the emotion? With the fullness of life, to keep leaning in to the sweetness of our relationship. I'll explain just one little second. I probably about 20 years ago, I'm just doing life, and at that point it was pretty simple, more simple than it is now. And I remember one day saying, Lord, we paid our tithe, and I said, Lord, I know your word says that you'll give us blessings that we cannot contain. What does that look like? Okay, what that looks like right now in my life, 6 children, 4 married, grandchildren on the way. I have extended family, my church family, my family in eternity continues to grow, and everything that comes with that is not simple. And so that is impactful in my life, and I feel like I cannot contain the blessings. And I have to lean in every day and ask Him, how can I be the sweet wife after the crazy day?
Yeah.
How can I be the nanny that I want to be when I know that maybe one of my kiddos is really hurting today? So that's what I kind of mean.
No.
Hopefully surrendered in that relationship.
That's great. And I think, what Jesus modeled to us was simplicity with relationships, although He had tons of relationships, 12 disciples, thousands of followers, when He's feeding the 5,000, but He was also simple with His things. He didn't have lots of shoes, or probably just one pair, maybe, I don't know. But he just lived a simple life because he could keep the one thing, a life focused on God. He was able to move because he was living so simple. And I know, Luisa, you have a little bit of a story of how you have that has kind of moved and changed and ebbed and flows for you in the years. Yes. So do you want to share?
Yes, sure, absolutely. Just, again, I also have 6 children, and just the life, I know that we're all in different places, and and that simplicity looks different depending on where we are in our life. Yeah. You know, when I started homeschooling my kids and I did a partnership with another school, and then the Lord asked me to bring the kids home, I fought that, and then I had to do it. And I knew it was His will, and I was trying to keep things simple, but then I took over and I was looking for these resources and wanted all this stuff, and it was just more of Luisa's control. And that caused me to be in a year of being in the desert. And I know that we can all share that we've experienced of being in a year of a desert. But when that happened, I brought it all back and went, okay, I lost track. I didn't keep my focus on God's kingdom and what that was for our family at that time. And when I did that, it turned around, and my blessings were just incredible after that following year. And then just also with my home, you know, we had a home. We lived in our home for many years. But it's so easy to just buy this and buy that and buy this for that kid and just get too much. And we got to a place where our home was just too much. And yes, it was working and it was good, but it was losing the value that we needed because it was overtaking. We weren't comfortable. When you have possessions and they're controlling you, you're definitely not in a simplicity life. And so we had to step back. We sold our home, rented for 4 years, and kind of like started all over again. But this time we were constantly focusing on God. Okay, God, you know our heart. You know we want to have a new home. You know, guide us, direct us. And we did go to Him constantly. But when things were going wrong and things weren't working out, like we were pre-approved for 3 loans, and then once we started building, they were gone because of something that happened with my husband's, you know, company. And my husband was like, oh my goodness. I'm like, no, we've got peace. This whole time we were turning to God. It was what God wanted. We were in His presence, and He'll work it out. And He worked it out. And so it's just trusting in Him, because the anxiety can get the best of us in different situations. And it's trusting in Him. And that's simplicity. It's just being obedient to Christ and just doing that. I think I mean, it's easier said than done, of course, and we learn by our mistakes. But right now, I just feel a lot of peace because I'm just constantly making sure that we're in line with Him and what He wants.
Gotcha. Do you feel like you are consistently reevaluating? Am I on track with God? Like, how do you kind of check in to say, like, hey, I'm living the simple life? Like, how do you practically do that? Is that a conversation that you have with your spouse? Is that between you and God? What does it look like?
I don't think I ever asked myself that question until we started breaking down some of this stuff that we were going to talk about today. I think my question every day is, Holy Spirit, what do you want to tell me? Because I know that my days start so much better, so full when I take the moment and just literally say, what do you want to tell me for today? I need to hear that. And most of the time, just like in conversation, if my heart's so full and I'm like, Amy, we're going to meet, and my heart's so full and I haven't like emptied out, you're like, get it out, Denise, so we can have a real conversation. I feel like the Holy Spirit meets me like that every morning. He's like, baby girl, tell me what's on your mind. And when I just give it to Him, and then I say, tell me what you want to say about this, reframe this situation. And I can't just say it's just the morning, but certainly the start of my day is so impactful for the rest of it. And then through the day, I have been practicing lately. I just had a situation the other day. I was at work and a coworker said something, and it was rough. And I kind of took my breath. And I left the meeting and I was like, Holy Spirit, I really need you to reframe that for me. And when I say hopefully surrendered, that's what I mean. I need Him I surrender, I don't ignore, but I surrender my emotions, what I'm feeling first to Him, making His voice the first choice. That's good. And ask Him what He wants to say and ask for His directives. So I'm going to be honest with you, He's really still working on me with that one thing from 2 days ago. Yeah. But it's going to work out.
No.
And He's going to keep answering because He does that. He makes me laugh all the time.
Well, and I think, living simply gives us the opportunity to ebb and to flow with the Spirit. When we have too much on our plate, when we have too many things to take care of, we become, there's the story in the Bible about Mary and Martha where Mary is sitting at the feet of Jesus, and Martha is running around, and Jesus says, Mary is focused on the best thing. She chose the best thing, and that's to be with me. So I think sometimes with simplicity, it's not like that God doesn't want us to have a nice bed or anything like that, but it's really what is taking us away from God. So Luisa, is there anything like over the years practically that you've done to like reevaluate simplicity in your life?
Yeah, and that's so true, because this discipline, it could be dangerous where you're judging how someone is living. And we all, the three of us, can be living in a different way. It doesn't matter if we're the type that is like, I don't need those extra things. We're good with this. We don't need to, work harder to get a pass to go to Busch Gardens. We're happy with going to the park. And it's okay if someone, wants to do that for them. I know that was one of the things for me is, I didn't have when I was growing up, and I wanted to provide for my kids, but then how much are you providing for them? You have to be careful with that. And so I feel like my husband and I learned our lessons. And last year when we were in our new home and there were things we needed, we just sat down and said, okay, there's a lot that we need, but what do we need right now? And are we going to get this and not get into debt and, do those things? And so just that simplicity of not being tied down to something, having the freedom. Your job can provide you with money where you can get some nicer things and stuff like that. But again, is it tying you down? Are you still free? What are you showing your children? I always look back at that with my children because they're adults now and they're starting their lives, thinking of the future, investing and stuff, and we don't want them to get into debt. And so just realizing that life is okay being simple, but it looks different for everybody. So we can't judge and we can't compare. I can't compare myself to you and say, well, she's doing that because my life is different. And we have to be okay with that. And again, it's just turning it back to God and asking him to show us, And you're going to feel the Holy Spirit tugging at you and saying, do you really need that, Luisa? Or do you guys really need to spend that there? Could you, save here and do less? He's going to answer those things for us. Yeah. Just have to sit and listen.
Well, and living simple with our finances, one of the things that Grace is so great about talking about and not like running away from it because it can be an uncomfortable topic is the tithe. And the tithe is really giving back to where you get fed, giving back to the local church. And it was actually the very first message I heard when I came to Grace. And it was a great message. It actually gave me such practical advice. But the tithe isn't just about giving, it's just not about doing something, a law. But really, Luisa, you've always kind of inspired me, your journey with doing this. So can you just stretch what the tithe has meant to you in living simply?
Yes. For me, the tithe has been giving with joy, not being concerned, not letting anxiety get you. So, for some people, giving tithe might be 2%. Might be 5%. You might be able to give the 10%, but are you giving in joy? Are you free with that? You're trusting in God. It's going back to trusting God that he's going to provide. With your time, I know that when I had kids at home, I wanted to be serving at Grace. I wanted to just do so much, but at that moment, my time was to serve my children. That was my ministry. And now look, I'm blessed and I get to do this fun job. I was patient. So it's your time, balancing out your serving. It's like when we're looking for leaders within our ministry, we want to make sure that things are okay at home. We don't want them to be serving in the ministry and then chaos is at home. Right. That's not good. So it's balancing that tithe, your time, not just your finances.
Yeah. And I think if I look at women in today's culture, one of the things, like I look at calendars and all the things that if you have kids are involved in, or all the different activities that we can be involved in, we don't necessarily live simply when it comes to our time. And Denise, you are so great at reevaluating that and keeping the main focus. But do you want to touch on just the simplicity of time in any way?
One of the things when you're asking me that stands out in my mind, first and foremost, is making sure that there's peace and following peace. Yeah. There are a lot of opportunities that come our way with birthday parties and this party and that party and this commitment, that commitment. I was empowered, I don't know how long ago, to recognize what's peaceful and what's not peaceful, and say it. Really follow, like you said, Luisa, you'll know inside if you're peaceful doing it or not, but we have the opportunity to lean in on the Holy Spirit as our teacher, helper, counselor, and many more things, but just to say, will you clarify this for me? Go, not go, do this, do that. And if we give him that opportunity, he does tell us. So I make that a practice. And then I just want to empower you ladies. It is okay to say, without explanation, that is not peaceful for me right now. That does not work peacefully for my family this weekend. Thank you so much. But honestly, that has been so freeing to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that helps, but that really,
It's
I live
okay to
by
say
that.
no. And that's such a great rule to live by, to evaluate, to invite the Holy Spirit in, to pray, and give yourself the freedom to say no. And so many times we feel a pressure to say yes to everything. But I want to read this from Richard Foster, but he said, simplicity brings freedom. Duplicity brings bondage. Simplicity brings joy and peace. Duplicity brings anxiety and fear. Simplicity brings clarity. Duplicity brings chaos. Simplicity is others focused, and duplicity can be me focused. So as I want you to enjoy your small group time, I know this is a challenging topic, but I'm so excited for you to talk about it amongst your groups. Enjoy.